They were smiling in the last photo anyone saw of them together. The image showed a young couple standing at the edge of a wooden pier, water stretching endlessly behind them. She leaned into him, barefoot, her hair lifted by the sea wind. He had one arm around her shoulders, the other holding the phone. It looked like happiness caught mid-breath, light, careless, real. By the next morning, only one of them would come back. Maya believed in beginnings. At 26, she had just married her college sweetheart, Daniel, after 4 years of careful planning and quiet compromises. Their wedding was small, intimate, filled with laughter and relief more than extravagance. When the music stopped and the guests left, Maya felt something new settle into her chest, certainty. The trip was meant to seal that feeling. They chose a coastal town far from home, quiet, warm, unfamiliar. No work calls, no family obligations, just the two of them in time. Maya imagined early mornings by the water, shared breakfasts, long walks where nothing urgent existed. On the first night, lying beside Daniel in their rented seaside bungalow, she whispered, "Can you believe this is real?" Daniel smiled in the dark. "It finally is." She fell asleep believing nothing could touch them here. Daniel had always been the careful one. Even on vacation, he noticed details, how the bungalow door didn't lock smoothly, how the beach path had no lights at night, how the town felt welcoming but watchful. He told himself he was overthinking. This was supposed to be a celebration, not a checklist of risks. Still, on their second day, something shifted. They argued. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet disagreement over dinner. About money, about plans after the trip, about how quickly life was moving. Maya wanted to stay longer. Daniel worried about expenses. "It's not a big deal," she said, brushing it off. But Daniel felt a small distance open between them, subtle and uncomfortable. Later that night, he suggested a walk along the shore to clear the air. Maya hesitated, then agreed. That walk would be the last decision they made together. Eli had seen tourists come and go for decades. He ran a small convenience store near the beach, open late for travelers who forgot essentials. He noticed people, couples especially. The newlyweds stood out, not because they were loud, but because they looked gentle with each other. On the night in question, Eli remembered them clearly. They came in just before closing. The woman smiled, asked about snacks. The man seemed distracted, glancing at his phone, then toward the door. They were normal, Eli later told police. Happy, I think, but tired. When they left, Eli watched them walk toward the darkened beach path. He noticed something else then, a third figure lingering near the street corner. A man he didn't recognize. Watching, waiting. Eli thought nothing of it at the time. He would regret that later. The night air was cool, soothing. Maya liked the sound of the waves. She liked how small their problems felt here. As they walked, she reached for Daniel's hand, but he didn't notice immediately. "Daniel," she said softly, "we're okay, right?" He stopped walking, turned to her. His face looked tight, conflicted. "Of course," he said. "I just need space sometimes." That word, space, landed heavier than she expected. She took a step back, hurt flickering across her face. That was when she heard footsteps behind them. Too close, too fast. She turned, and the night broke open. Daniel remembered sound before anything else. A sharp movement, a cry cut short, his own voice shouting her name. He remembered turning, seeing a shadow rush past, feeling something strike him hard from behind. When he woke, sand was pressed against his cheek. His head throbbed. The path was empty. "Maya," he called, panic rising. There was no answer. No footprints that made sense. Just the ocean breathing steadily, indifferent. Daniel ran back to the bungalow, called the police. His voice shook as he spoke. "My wife is missing." Inspector Torres arrived before sunrise. She had worked missing person cases long enough to know the first hours mattered most. She listened carefully as Daniel repeated his story, again and again. Walk, argument, noise, darkness, nothing. Torres noted details others might miss. No obvious blood, no weapon found. Daniel's injury consistent with a fall or a blow. His timeline vague in places, precise in others. "Did anyone have a reason to harm your wife?" she asked. Daniel shook his head too quickly. "No, absolutely not." Torres wrote that down. As daylight spread, the town revealed fragments. A jogger reported hearing shouting near the beach around midnight. A fisherman saw a boat leaving the small dock earlier than usual. Eli, the shop owner, mentioned the unfamiliar man. CCTV footage was limited. One camera caught Maya and Daniel entering the beach path. Another showed Daniel running back alone, hours later, barefoot and frantic. There was no footage of Maya leaving. That absence felt loud. On the other end, Maya woke to darkness and movement. The air smelled wrong, damp, metallic, old. Her wrists burned. Rope, not tight enough to cut, but tight enough to remind her she wasn't free. The floor beneath her shifted with a slow, uneven rhythm. Water. She tried to sit up. Pain bloomed behind her eyes, sharp but distant, like thunder far away. Her mouth was dry. Her thoughts came in pieces. Daniel. The word steadied her. She listened. A low engine hummed somewhere close. The creak of wood. She was on a boat. Fear rose carefully, like something that had learned not to make noise. The man did not speak when he noticed she was awake. He stood near the bow, back turned, one hand steady on the wheel. He was not large, not dramatic. He moved with the confidence of someone who had done this before. Not this exact thing, perhaps, but something close enough. He had not planned to take her. The plan had been simple. Quick. Take valuables. Disappear. But plans were fragile, and people were unpredictable. She fought harder than expected. She screamed. Mistakes stacked on mistakes. He told himself he just needed time to think. Time stretched strangely. She tested the rope when the engine noise grew louder, masking sound. It bit into her skin. She stopped before it could draw blood. Panic wasted energy. She knew that instinctively. Her hands were tied in front. That mattered. She scanned the small cabin with her eyes. A bench, a crate, a torn tarp. No windows. Only a narrow doorway leading to the deck. Her heart slowed. Not because she was calm, but because she had decided something. I will leave this boat alive. Daniel sat in a white room that smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. The hours after Maya vanished blurred into a loop of questions and silence. He replayed the argument again and again, hating himself for every word that hadn't been gentle. When the police told him they were expanding the search to the water, his breath caught. She can swim, he said quickly. She's strong. Inspector Torres didn't answer immediately. Maya, now fully alert since the boat slowing down. She felt it before she heard it, the shift in balance, the change in sound. The man stepped away from the wheel. His footsteps moved toward the cabin. She had seconds. She leaned forward, teeth finding the rope fibers. They tasted like salt and oil. She bit down, ignoring the pain in her jaw, sawing back and forth. The door opened. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither moved. Then he lunged. He grabbed her arm. She twisted, slipping partly free, the rope loosening enough for her to pull one hand out. She struck blindly, fist, elbow, desperation. He cursed, stumbled back. She ran. The deck was narrow, slick with moisture. The water around them was endless, dark blue under a rising sky. She didn't think about distance or direction, only speed. She reached the edge and jumped. Cold swallowed her. The shock stole her breath, but training, something learned long ago in a pool with her father, kicked in. She kicked upward, breaking the surface, gasping. The boat loomed beside her. She swam anyway. Each stroke felt heavier than the last. Her wrist screamed. One hand still burned from rope friction. She focused on rhythm. In, out, kick, pull. She heard the engine roar again. Closer. He did not want to chase her. He told himself that. He could leave. She was just one person in a wide sea. But panic had its own logic. If she reached shore, if she lived, everything unraveled. He steered toward her, shouting something he wouldn't remember later. The boat cut through the water, fast and careless. Maya saw the shadow beneath the surface before she felt it. The wake pulled at her, dragging her sideways. She swallowed water, coughed, lost rhythm. Her limbs felt distant now, delayed. Daniel, she thought. Not as a plea, as an anchor. She reached out once more, toward nothing specific. Just forward. Then the water closed in. The engine stopped. The man leaned over the edge, breathing hard, scanning the surface. For a long time, nothing moved. When he finally pulled away, the sea smoothed itself, indifferent and complete. The forensic team worked slowly. They found disturbed sand near the path. Fibers caught on a broken branch. A footprint that didn't match Daniel's shoes. A smear on a rock, not blood, but skin. This wasn't random, Torres said quietly. They checked Daniel's phone. Messages showed recent financial stress. An argument texted to a friend earlier that night. The puzzle pieces didn't accuse him outright, but they leaned uncomfortably close. Daniel felt the weight change. The officer's tone shifted. Questions repeated. Timelines challenged. His grief, raw and unsteady, began to look like something else in their eyes. "I loved her," he said again and again. "Why won't you believe me?" Torres watched him carefully. Some people broke under guilt, others under loss. The difference was thin. Then the lab report came in. Fibers from Daniel's shirt matched those found on the branch. The room went quiet, but the turning point came unexpectedly. A harbor camera, overlooked at first, captured something at 12:43 a.m. A small boat leaving the dock. 2 figures on board. One slumped, one standing. The standing figure wasn't Daniel. The man from Eli's description was identified days later. A drifter with a history of violent theft, recently released, living on the outskirts of town. When police raided his shelter, they found Maya's necklace. The full story came together slowly. Saltwater damage made timelines harder to confirm. The suspect's partial confession avoided details, but evidence filled the gaps. Fibers, engine logs, the necklace, the harbor footage, and finally, the medical report. No prolonged suffering, no signs of restraint at the end. The cause listed was brief, clinical, final. Torres closed her eyes when she read it. They told Daniel in the same white room. He collapsed on the chair where he sat. This time, he didn't argue, didn't ask questions. He nodded, once, like someone acknowledging a rule he had never agreed to but could not change. He imagined Maya fighting, imagined her refusing to be quiet, refusing to disappear without resistance. That thought both broke him and held him together. The suspect confessed partially. He claimed it was a robbery gone wrong. That Maya fought back. That things escalated. Her body was recovered from the water days later. The town fell silent. Daniel was cleared, but not freed from guilt. Maya's family avoided his eyes. The vacation bungalow stood empty, its windows dark. But answers still felt incomplete. Trust is fragile. Maya trusted love. Daniel trusted routine. The town trusted familiarity. All of it failed, in different ways. The courtroom was quiet. The man avoided looking at the photographs, avoided Maya's family. He pleaded guilty to avoid a longer sentence, but offered little remorse beyond what was required. The judge spoke of choices, of consequences, of the weight of a single violent decision. The trial moved quickly. The verdict came back guilty. The sentence was heavy. It did not feel equal. The town returned to normal slowly. Tourists came back. The shop reopened. The beach path lights were fixed. Daniel left. He couldn't stay in a place where every sound carried her voice. He donated their wedding savings to a coastal safety fund. It felt like something Maya would have approved of, practical, quiet, meaningful. Inspector Torres transferred cases months later. Before she did, she walked the beach once more, alone. She watched the water for a long time. Crimes like this are often described as sudden. They are not. They are built from small moments, missed warnings, familiar dangers ignored, ordinary nights that turn without announcing themselves. They end lives, but they also leave shadows in the living. Maya's story did not end on that boat. It lived on in evidence files, in court records, in the quiet resolve of those who refused to forget her as just a victim. She was a woman who fought to the last breath, not because she believed she would win, but because she believed her life was worth fighting for. And sometimes, that is the most important truth to recover from the dark.